Hello there, welcome to Scrum Positive. Today, the question is, can Scrum be toxic? Can having the Scrum framework, can working in Scrum be toxic? And sometimes if you're working in Scrum, you're watching this video, you might think that's not a relevant question. Scrum was the greatest thing that has happened. But that doesn't mean that there are no people who think Scrum is toxic. Because anything, however good it is, the way you implement it, the way the message is passed to people, it can be positive, it can be negative, it can get toxic. There's someone who told me when I made a video about Scrum that, and that person's explanation for Scrum is that it is a way in which you are judged based on your ability in comparison with other people and make you as stressful as possible. And I know there are people who feel that way. When we try to implement the Scrum framework, when questions are asked and questions are important, there are some people who definitely would feel that the questions are targeted towards them. And there are people who feel it is toxic because everyone does not probably get the message in the same way. You cannot implement the Scrum framework without a buy-in from the team. And that buy-in takes time. Sometimes you have to have the buy-in and then do the framework implementation. Sometimes you have to do them in parallel. Sometimes when you're trying to implement the framework, instead of giving them a prescribed method without any room for change, you should probably say that let's start it slowly. Let's try to improve. And there should be definite ways in which we can kind of monitor and see our progress and improvement. And the moment you think people within the team are feeling it is toxic, you need to discuss about it. Sometimes if you don't have the power, maybe you cannot discuss because you are following a process that is given to you from the higher ups. You can fight for it, for the team. You can fight against everyone else in the organization, but sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But being very transparent with the team, if you are one of the people who are coaching the Scrum framework, being very transparent of how the system is working and what we can do and what we cannot do at this point, but also tell the team that this is the things that we are trying to do. I think that in some way or the other would help us. So yes, can Scrum be toxic? The answer is yes. But there is a but. It doesn't have to be toxic. There's a way it can be implemented. It can be brought to a team where it benefits a team without people having to feel it is toxic. Because sometimes, there might be a toxic culture within the organization. And Scrum framework is not going to change that toxic culture within the organization. You might have to live with the toxic culture that exists. So we have to try to get into the root of why we think something is toxic. And be very transparent and open about it. Just because you are a Scrum coach or you are the Scrum master, that doesn't mean that what you're doing is the proper way to do. Maybe you need to change the way you're doing certain things within that organization. I think that's my take on it. I would like to know what your take on that is. What do you think? Do you think that there are cases where people think Scrum is toxic? I would like to know what your experience is. You guys take care and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.